In this video, we will look at the Calcs Events Tile. The calculation service is one of several clients that connects to the view service to read data from the historian. The calculation service can output both tags and events. Tags are written back to a historian using a local store and forward service. Calcs should be written to their own dataset as it is a different data source than the sensor data that is being collected. Events are stored in a local SQLite database by default, but they can be configured to be stored in Microsoft SQL. When we first open the tile, we are presented with the job screen displaying all of the calculations that have been created in the list below. Tags are labeled with a trend icon, and events a bell. Events that are indented indicate they are a child event of the parent. Child events are only monitored when the parent event is activated. Jobs and folders are listed alphanumerically. Using the search bar, jobs can be filtered by name using keywords separated by spaces. The buttons on the right allow the user to start, stop, edit, copy, and delete the job that is selected. Multiple jobs can be selected using Control-click or Shift-click. Add creates a new job and opens a configuration screen. The More button contains options to backfill the job, browse events, move the job to a new folder, rename a folder, set the startup order, choose which columns to display in the jobs table, and import and export jobs. These options can also be found by right-clicking a job itself. Backfilling a job allows the user to select a point in time and recalculate the range of data up until now. Any data prior to the start time is left undisturbed. The startup order determines which jobs have priority when multiple jobs are backfilling. The lower the number, the higher the priority. Import and export are used to migrate jobs to another calculation server. In this process, a JSON file is generated which contains the configuration for each job. Note, this does not migrate the data produced by the jobs, just the jobs themselves. Calculated data is contained in DataSets in the historian or in the events database. Double-clicking or selecting the Edit button opens the job to view and make changes to its configuration. At the top, we have general information showing the job name and the folder it resides in. This is what is displayed in the list on the previous screen. The Output field determines if the job will output a calc tag or an event. Based on this choice, the remaining configuration screen will update accordingly. In this example, we're outputting a calc tag. We'll look at an event example afterwards. The Mode option determines the frequency at which a job is triggered to evaluate. Periodic jobs are set to run on fixed intervals with an optional offset. This particular example is set to run once a day at 6 p.m. Subscription jobs will trigger when any or some of the input tags change. To the right, we have another location where we can configure the job startup order if necessary, and where we can set the job's backfill start time. This is only used when the job does its initial backfill. If needing to re-backfill, this is done on the main screen using the More button or right-clicking the job. Next, we have the asset path and type. The asset path allows the user to select a specific view from the view service from which to load assets. This is only necessary if needing to create an asset-based calculation, whereupon an asset type can be selected from the list below. If it is not asset-based, the asset path can be left alone. The tag section provides a space where we can configure the output tag name and attach properties to it. The tag path must start with a dataset name where it will be stored in the historian. The dataset will be created automatically if it does not already exist. In this example, we are also using the wildcard %asset%, as it is an asset-based calculation and output tag names must be unique. The wildcard will be populated with the asset instance path that appears in the asset dropdown. The last branch is the descriptive metric name. A tag's value and property values are set to variables created below. Expressions are built using the functions, operators, variables, tags, and asset tags from the right. Hovering over a function will display a brief description. Selecting a function will also provide a description at the bottom of the list, along with an example of the expected syntax. Anything contained within square brackets is optional. The Asset Tags menu will only contain tags if an asset type is selected from above. Expressions are set equal to a variable which can then be used in subsequent expressions or assigned to a tag or property value. Variables must start with a letter. More options can be found by selecting the ellipsis button on the right. Once configuration changes have been applied, we can navigate back to the main screen and start the calculation. The job will go through its backfill mode before it hits live. At this point, data should be stored in the historian. Next, we'll take a look at an event example. As we open this up, you'll see the output is set to event, and we have all the event configuration fields displayed instead of tags. As we mentioned at the beginning of the video, events can be hierarchical, so we can choose a parent event if we wish. There are two modes to choose from. Series events occur discretely, where a new event can only begin if the previous event has ended. Parallel events can start even while other event instances are still in progress. Each event must have a start trigger assigned to a variable that begins the event whenever the condition is true. Stop triggers are optional and will conclude the event whenever their expression is true. If a stop trigger is not configured, the event will end whenever the start trigger is false. Abort triggers will end and nullify an event in process if their condition is met. Additionally, a minimum duration can be set, which specifies the amount of time that must elapse while the start trigger is true before being considered an event. So maybe the temp has to be greater than 80 for 5 minutes. Here we can specify the recipients who will receive an email notification whenever the event starts and ends. Lastly, event properties can be calculated and attached to each event instance. These properties can be evaluated at the beginning, end, or throughout the event. Event instances can be viewed by navigating to the main screen, right-clicking the event, and selecting Browse Events. So that's all for Calcs and Events for now. Thanks for watching.